Okay, so like I said, I want to get a little bit more updated into Ashes of Creation. I wanted to find like a content creator that'd be down to have a sit down and me ask him a bunch of questions about Ashes of Creation. I think that would be interesting. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening with the person that I want it to. So I don't know if I can find somebody else who's like super passionate about Ashes of Creation, knows a bunch about the game and wants to talk about it. But I'm going to be watching this video by Lazy Peon and see what the deal is. It's titled still genuinely the most exciting upcoming MMORPG, Ashes of Creation. And I'm just like, I don't know about that. Right now, Ashes of Creation seems to be heading in the direction of friggin' Star Citizen. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but let's see.
It's been just over 2 years since I made that big overview video for Ashes of Creation. 2.6 million views, the hype train's still rolling, and 2 years worth of development updates later, I decided to make an updated version of that video. So grab a cup of tea, sit back and relax whilst I explain to you why Ashes of Creation is still, by far, the most exciting upcoming MMORPG. This video has no sponsor and took a solid 40 hours of writing, recording, and editing. So if you'd like to...
Did you say 40 hours of solid writing and editing? Okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I want everybody to put this running in the background. I want all of you to give Lazy Peon some watch time. So put this in the background, like mute the tab or whatever, put it running, and leave a like on there, and we'll all watch it here on the stream. But you guys will give this watch time to Lazy Peon as well. I think that's actually the best way to do it with reactions. Anyway, Nick Sidge72, thank you very much for making 5 people grossly incandescent for a total of 20. Thank you very much. Appreciate your generosity. Tip of the hat. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate it. So I'm going to post the link here. Give him some watch time, and we'll watch it together through the stream here.
Support my work and plan on playing Ashes when it releases,
also,
then click my referral link in the description below or use my code to create an account.
Okay.
Ashes of Creation is the biggest upcoming Western MMORPG in terms of scope, hoping to provide fans of PvP, PvE, and roleplay content an ever-changing virtual world in which the progression of each server is completely different and dependent on the actions of the player base. Ashes started development back in...
So I have to say, one of the things that I'm instantly concerned by from listening to this, he says... every server is going to, evolve in different ways. So I'm assuming we have the traditional server structure, which if I was to take a couple of notes throughout this video is like, okay, traditional server structure, at least according to what I'm hearing here. Let me know if I'm wrong in chat. Those of you that may know more about this than me, which basically means we are going to have regions and realms. I do not like this. I do not like this server structure. I think that this is bad. I understand why they're going this route, because they have like their whole node system, which in a way is just like a different form of what we currently have in New World in the form of like people taking over certain regions and then getting taxes. It's just the thing is, these nodes are much more complex than somebody simply taking over a region. So I don't want to diminish what the nodes are, because I understand that the node system in Ashes of Creation is like one of the biggest features the game actually has, and that they will develop in different ways. But like the problem with the traditional server structure is that you have these realms, which if they, let me actually increase the size of this so that people can actually see it, right? Again, I'm assuming traditional server structure from what we're hearing here. So we have regions, we have realms. What is the biggest problem with this? The same problem that we currently have in New World, which is what is the limit? What is how many players per server? Which I don't know if this is answered in this video or what the deal is, but like players per server, how many? Are we going to be experiencing massive queues? Almost certainly. There hasn't been a single MMORPG that has launched without massive queues, with the exception of Diablo Immortal, which is technically speaking not really an MMORPG, but apparently they put so much fucking money into that game that they were able to completely overcome all of the server problems that you can have in a video game like that, which I found pretty fucking impressive. But I would expect there to be massive queues, which usually what this leads down to is community segregation. right? So what happens when you have a situation like this, right? You have a massive MMORPG, it launches, it has a traditional server structure, you choose your realm or whatever, you jump in there, you start playing the game. You have a friend that comes later down the line, your realm's full, he can't make a character there, how do we solve this problem? He has to go to another server, now potentially you have to transfer to another server. Are these transfers going to be free? Are you going to have to pay to transfer? Traditional way that we do this in MMORPGs, you have to pay to transfer. So I do not like this server structure model. On the, how should I put this? On my initial impressions of what I'm hearing, which I'm still not sure that this is the server structure for it, and I'm not sure if this information is somewhere maybe hidden in the forums or something like that, if there's a video that talks about this, but this is what I would expect, a traditional server structure and the problems that come with that.
2016 in Unreal Engine 4, however at the end of 2021 upgraded its engine to Unreal 5 to make use of the latest advancements in gaming tech such as Nanite, Lumen, and a more efficient development pipeline. In terms of funding, the game was successfully kickstarted in 2017, however the vast majority of the game's funding comes from creative director Steven Sharif, a successful entrepreneur who, like most of us, has been a lifelong MMO fan that was unhappy with the current state of the MMO genre. Ashes of Creation is fully funded to completion, and despite offering paid access to alpha and beta tests, is not reliant on these funds to finish development. This game will have zero pay to win, a cosmetic only cash shop with no convenience items.
Okay, so now we know the business model, which is just 15 bones sub. I'm writing it down. Business model, 15 bones. No box cost, no pay to win. No pay to win remains to be seen, because one of the things that we have clearly seen is that the definition of pay to win is different from people to people. Because you see, there are two kinds of people when it comes to pay to win. There's people who are willing to admit that Lost Ark is pay to win, and then there's liars. So that's just the way that it goes. When it comes to pay to win, there's two types of people. So we need to see whether, when it comes to this, if this is someone who is under the delusion that Lost Ark is not pay to win, or if they're a liar. Wait. Yes.
And a $15 per month subscription fee business model with
but
no
I like
box
the business
cost.
model.
MMOs can usually be put into three categories: sandbox, theme park, or sand park. An example of a theme park MMO would be Final Fantasy XIV or WoW.
Although I think it's also important to mention that I feel like there should be a trial, maybe for the first couple of levels or something, like a 15 level trial or whatever, like an intro, so that players can kind of test it out. I do feel that a trial is important. Most likely there's not going to be one at the start, but I would expect them to later come up with a trial of some kind, because a lot of times just the feel of how an MMO plays is going to be something that is important for people. Very on guard on the pay to win, because a lot of things can change from now and to when it's release date. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I completely agree.
An on-rails story-driven experience with a lot of scripted instanced content, heavily reliant on developers constantly adding new raids, dungeons, and gear treadmill content to keep people playing. An example of a sandbox MMO would be EVE Online, a game that's almost entirely player-driven. You need to create your own goals and find your place within a player-driven ecosystem, typically joining alliances or guilds to take over land and control resources. These games are less reliant on developer-created content, as the interaction between players is the content, and it's different every time. A sand park MMO is basically a hybrid of theme park and sandbox. There's a lot of player-driven...
So it's like New World, basically. It's a sand park MMORPG. Okay. So... Sand Park. I hadn't even heard that one before. The Sand Park, which is a mixture between the theme park and the sandbox MMO. Right.
Content, however, there's...
Would you eat that snail? That's a little bit too big. I like the small ones, not the big ones.
Also developer-created scripted encounters such as raids and dungeons. This is the category of MMO that Ashes of Creation falls into, and personally it's my favourite type of MMORPG. So what makes Ashes of Creation unique? How does this game innovate to push the genre forwards? And why should you be excited for this MMO over all the others that have released and failed over the past 15 years?
The node system.
Ashes of Creation's biggest innovation, in my opinion, is its node system, and it's this system that ensures that no two servers will ever be the same. Basically, when the game launches, the world will be empty, however, over time, camps, villages, towns, cities, and sprawling metropolises will pop up in locations where players earn XP from killing mobs, gathering, or doing quests. There will be over 100 nodes scattered throughout the world at launch, and each node will have a different layer.
Damn. I wonder if this is them simulating the nodes. They're probably just simulating the nodes with like random player behavior.
Out and appearance depending on the race that contributed the most XP to it, as well as the buildings the mayor decides to place. So if, for example...
I'm so sad there's never going to be a dwarven looking city because nobody's going to play dwarves. That's going to suck. I'm going to find like a hidden node somewhere and I'm going to be like, this is my node. I will dig deep in this node and I will make my dwarven mountain. A dwarven mountain city. Exactly. That's what we need. Because there are dwarves in this game.
Orc players contributed the most XP to a node, the node will then have an orcish aesthetic. The same is true for every other race in the game, and these racial aesthetic changes are applied to the node every time it's leveled up. So a town could start with an elven aesthetic, but if dwarves contributed the most XP to progress it to the city stage, it would then change to a dwarven theme. So what happens when every node in the game is leveled to max? Well, that can't happen. Building up one node to a city, for example, will lock out adjacent nodes from reaching the same level, which in turn also locks or unlocks various quests, dungeons, or bosses. Players will have to initiate node sieges to de-level a node if they wish to progress adjacent nodes. Nodes come in 4 different node types: militaristic, scientific, divine, or economic, each of which have their own special perks, adding further variety into this system. Like I said, the node system is designed so that no two servers will be the same. If you take a break from the game for a few months, you could come back and the location of all major cities is completely different. Different taxes, buildings, different mayors voted to be in charge of the node, and different node racial aesthetics. No other MMORPG has ever done this before, and we've already seen this system working up to the village stage in last year's Alpha 1 test. On top of the node system also lies the node political system, where players compete to become the node's mayor. The process of how this is done varies depending on the node type. Scientific node mayors are voted for democratically, militaristic node mayors are chosen by victory in a last man standing tournament, economic node leadership is sold to the highest bidder, and divine node governance is given to the player that completed the most node quests. Once a mayor has been decided, they can set the tax rate and decide which building projects to pursue. The only way to remove a mayor is by destroying the node via the node siege mechanic. Bad mayors will exist, yes, they will cause drama, and this is all by design, as any virtual world has good...
I mean, listen, if anything in the last couple of days has taught us, if there's anything we've learned about drama in the last couple of days, is that people fucking love it, man. People love the drama. Look at the view times on all of the streamers that are discussing the drama that is happening on Twitch. Look at all those view numbers, dude. It is complete and absolute insanity. So any drama that happens in Ashes of Creation is just going to be good for the game's growth. Look at EVE Online. Whenever something big happens in EVE Online, some big drama where people blow up thousands of dollars of spaceships, it probably just makes more people want to go and play the game. So yeah.
guys and bad guys. Some nodes will naturally die out and de-level due to an inactive mayor, others will need to be taken out by force, some mayors might tax their citizens so hard that everyone leaves and there's no money for upkeep. This is all intended with the design principle of actions having consequences. The final thing worth mentioning about nodes is the citizenship and player housing systems tied to it. Once a node reaches village stage or higher, player housing then becomes available. There's 3 types of player housing: real space in-node housing, real space freeholds, which are basically plots of land within the node's zone of influence, and instance-to-node apartments. Players who have invested into any of these types of player housing can then register to become citizens of the node, which brings with it various benefits listed on screen. You can only become a citizen of one node at a time per account, so this is an important decision designed to make players want to invest in and defend their node. Nodes are not owned by guilds, and the more people that register for citizenship at a single node, the more expensive it becomes for future citizens to join. You will lose citizenship if your node is destroyed.
The interesting thing with this system is that you can essentially have different capitals from what I see here. Like, let me see, we're at 726 right now. Here's the map. So like, imagine for instance, you can have the capital be here because they've super developed this node and it becomes the default like big city node, or you can have it be like all the way down here and this is the capital because people super invested in it. And that is a very compelling system there. I feel like it's very interesting that it can go like that.
Destroyed in a node siege. In addition, you will also lose your player housing and a portion of the resources stored in your node's warehouse.
Damn!
So it's really in your best interests to defend and invest in the node that you're a citizen of. Another completely unique thing.
Dude, imagine if you lost your house in New World if somebody just like took over it. But I kind of feel like if that is the case, then houses can't be prohibitively expensive, because that's usually the way that you balance things like this. Because like, look, I've played a full loot MMO before. I've played Ultima Online, and a lot of people were like, oh my god, you would lose all of your gear if you die. And it's like, exactly. And immediately after, I would go to the store, buy a full plate set, and go out again and kill people. That's the way that you did it. The basically the way that you balance it out is you make it so that it is not prohibitively expensive for you to reacquire things. So I kind of feel like housing is going to be significantly cheaper than what a lot of people are expecting. Maybe, potentially, you know? But that I kind of feel like is the way that they need to go with that. Big oof, so the game is PvP focused to some extent, yes.
Ashes of Creation is bringing to the MMO genre that has never been done before is its season technology. This was recently shown off and working in a dev live stream, but basically every 1 or 2 weeks, certain biomes will change seasons from spring, summer, autumn, or winter. In doing so, the appearance of monsters might change, there will be buffs or debuffs to your character, dungeon entrances or mountain passes might become frozen over or inaccessible, some gatherable resources might become unavailable during certain seasons, which might have an economic impact, and there will also be different weather effects depending on the season. This, coupled with the ever-changing node system, gives Ashes of Creation the potential to be the MMORPG that has the most interesting, immersive, and evolving world we've seen out of any MMO to date. You leave the game, log in a few weeks later, the node has changed, the season has changed, new events and quests have spawned.
Your house is gone. You lost half of your materials that were in your node warehouse. You no longer have control of that node. The node is now an orc city. It's like, these are not just positives. Like, oh, everything changed. You've lost your house. You've lost a bunch of resources. This is not just like, it's good times.
It'll feel like you've zoned into a completely new location.
adaptive
On the PvE
PvE
side of
difficulty.
things, something I find especially interesting with Ashes of Creation is how content such as dungeons and raids will have adaptive difficulty based on the performance of the party against previous bosses. So let's say your group absolutely steamrolls the first boss in a dungeon or raid. The next boss will then scale to be more difficult, unlocking additional mechanics
Very
and as a result
curious
drop
about that.
better loot. In addition, node development also has a big impact on PvE difficulty and content availability too. The higher the node level, the higher the level
look
of
at that
mobs in the
dwarf,
surrounding
man.
area. Too,
Look at this dwarf. Look at
impact
him.
on PvE difficulty and content availability.
That is a good looking dwarf. I like that. Look at him. He looks like an iron breaker. Look at his helmet. Look at his hammer. That's a one-handed hammer too. Why does he not have a shield? He has a one-handed hammer. Why does he not have a shield? Needs a shield. Bam! Eat that hammer to the face! Yeah, that's a good looking dwarf. Look at him. That is a good looking dwarf. Ruri is a dwarf, Andy. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? His body is a shield. The fuck is that supposed to mean? Of course, dwarves are the best, dude. What the fuck? Dwarves are 1000% the best fantasy race.
The node level, the higher the level of mobs in the surrounding area. Perhaps there's a dungeon with 5 bosses inside, however the 4th and 5th boss rooms only become accessible once the node has developed to city or metropolis stage. Additional mechanics and higher loot potential could also be locked behind the leveling of nodes. Obviously this will take a lot of balancing, but I like the direction they're going in when it comes to PvE difficulty. If they get it right, dungeons and raids could become infinitely difficult based on performance, which could also open up the potential for competitive PvE leaderboards if there was some kind of performance rating added on top of this system.
Caravan
Although
system.
Ashes of Creation won't be the first MMO to introduce a caravan system, shout out to Silk Road Online, it's certainly not a common thing we've seen in any of the other top MMOs in recent years. I think the last MMO to have something like this was Arcade. Storage in Ashes of Creation is not global. Warehouses where you store your items will be local to each node.
Do we know if it's action combat or tap target? I believe it's going to be hybrid. Not sure, but I believe it's going to be hybrid. Think Guild Wars 2.
And gatherable resources for crafting will be more or less plentiful based on biome or region. This means that players will be able to take advantage of localized economies by transporting goods from one region to another based on supply and demand. This is done through the caravan system. Let's say you're a citizen of a node located in the desert biome.
See, this is all pretty, but when it comes to players actually engaging in a system like this, we saw what happened, right? Then again, we didn't really have a caravan system to kind of play around with. But like if you look at New World, for instance, it was a pain in the ass. And it was such a pain in the ass that was one of the things that they reworked in order to try and make players come back into the game, which is it used to be each city had their own auction house. It used to be each city had its own storage, which is, according to Lazy Peon, going to be the same case here. And it was just a pain in the ass, particularly because you had limited storage in each of the cities. And then it's like, oh, but I have all of these materials. Where do I put them? Okay, I guess I'll hoof it from this city to the next because teleporting was prohibitively expensive. So I guess I'll hoof it from over here to over there and then drop my stuff on there. And then it's like, oh, but now I'm in this city and I need the materials from the other city. It was a pain in the ass. So what they did is they unlocked all that shit. And now everybody's way happier because they can just get their materials from wherever they are, go to whatever city they need to go to, and that's done. And also the auction houses being linked across all cities, I also think was a major positive thing because then you don't have to wonder, oh, where should I sell my fire sword? Am I going to sell my fire sword in Everfall, Windsward? Like what the fuck? Where am I selling this? It's weird, right? What ended up happening was players essentially made the social agreement kind of that like, hey, we mostly use the Everfall auction house. So whenever you needed something, you'd know that the auction house that has the most shit would always be Everfall. And most of the other auction houses just became ghost auction houses. You know, that's usually what tends to happen. I kind of feel like with something like this, potentially you'll end up in a similar situation. Like we talked earlier about how one of the nodes most likely is going to become the not official capital of that specific server. Most of the people are going to be conducting business in that node. So, it's not going to be really going to be, oh, I'm going to take my goods to sell in this other less developed node. It's most likely going to be like, well, got to go make the trek to the capital to use the auction house, buy stuff and all of that. I think that from a fantasy perspective, all of this sounds very appealing. But ultimately, from a practicality perspective, it's going to end up being a negative, and players are going to heavily resist it. That is my prediction. But again, I could be wrong. Who knows?
People need a lot of wood for crafting, but it's hard to come by in the desert. You travel to the forest, spend a few hours collecting or buying wood from other players, then you want to transport it back to the desert to sell on for profit or use yourself. You can go to the storage at the forest node and spawn a personal caravan to then transport those goods.
And
in
then
doing
players can
so,
attack
the
it.
area around the caravan will become a moving open world PvP zone, in which players can choose to either attack or defend the caravan. There's incentives for either side. This is a risk versus reward system in which you could potentially lose your stuff if your caravan is successfully raided. The whole existence of the caravan system also opens up the possibility for players to become mercenaries and sell protection services to players wanting to transport their goods for coin, which is also pretty cool.
Monster coin events.
Monster coin events are a multiplayer horde defense activity that can take place at nodes. These events must be triggered by something significant happening in the surrounding area, such as node advancement, the death of a world boss, or constructing a certain building in the node. During a monster coin event, players must choose to either attack or defend. Attackers can use monster coins to transform into a monster and attack key objectives in the node, whilst defenders must defend against the attacking horde of monsters. Monster coin events cannot de-level a node, however they can kill important NPCs or disable buildings at the node for a while if the attackers are successful. Monster coins can be obtained via rare drops in-game, and the rewards for this activity are entirely cosmetic. The final point I want to make when it comes to what makes Ashes of Creation so unique is the sheer scope of the game. When you combine all the features and innovations this game will have, it's surely going to be the biggest fantasy MMO ever made to date. 9 different playable races, both with male and female options, 480 square kilometer world size at launch, fully open world game where you can go from one side of the map to the other, no loading screens, dungeons, raids, world bosses, open world PvP with a criminal system, caravan PvP, castle sieges, node sieges, arenas, duels.
This is one of the things that I miss, PvP with a criminal system. Like, I haven't seen a system like that since Ultima Online. A karma-based system where you can just like, hey, I want to fucking kill this guy. You're just walking around the world, you're like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And you kill him. And then there's repercussions for that. I miss that. Like, are there even any games like that anymore? It's all like faction-based and shit. Arcade had one. Yeah, but Arcade... Yeah, it's like, I miss those.
Guild Wars, crafting and artisan system, monster coin events, political system, citizenship, player-run shops, taverns with parlor games, top-tier character customization, transmog cosmetic collection, 64 different class combinations, 3 forms of player housing, both open world and instanced, crafting and artisan customization, transmog cosmetic collection,
64 class combinations? What in the actual fuck? A weapon master? A fighter tank is a dreadnought? A double tank? What do you mean double tank? Like, what is this? A dreadnought, a shadow blade, a hunter, a spell sword, a blade caller, a high sword, blade dancer, knight, guardian, knight shield, warden, spell shield keeper, paladin, argent, duelist, shadow guardian, assassin, predator, night spell, shadow lord. Like, no way, bro. No fucking way. No shot. What? No shot. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's no way that these are going to be meaningfully different. There is just no way. Good luck with the balance. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, bro, you're talking about 64 class combinations. World of Warcraft has what? 30-something specs? World of Warcraft has like 36 specs or however much it is. And the balance in World of Warcraft, which I would argue they probably have a bigger budget than Ashes of Creation, the balance in World of Warcraft is absolute fucking dog shit. Balance in World of Warcraft is balanced around this very compelling system called the Flavor of the Month, where Blizzard picks a class that's going to be fucking broken in every conceivable way, and that's your balance. And then next month, it's somebody else's turn. Keeps things fresh. Not particularly balanced. You have a primary and secondary class. You can apparently use pretty much everything from two classes. It's a primary subclass system like Pillars of Eternity. The one that comes to mind is actually Guild Wars. Guild Wars had a system like this where I remember I used to play a Necro Ranger. Well, actually, it was the other way around. It was a Ranger Necro. Back then, I wasn't as inclined to being a tank as I am nowadays, so I was playing a Necro Ranger. Although, interestingly enough, I was still playing a monk for a while, which was also extremely tanky. Necrodancer? There's a Necrodancer? There's Necromancer.
Four different class combinations, 3 forms of player housing, both open world and instanced, achievements, leaderboards, gathering, questing, hybrid combat system, player-driven economy with localized storage, pets, massive guild system with guild halls, both land and water mounts, and 18 different biomes in the world. Every week or two the season changes, which makes zones feel completely different, and if all of that wasn't enough, something I often forget is that the game will have an entire arcade-style naval system where you can sail across the ocean on massive ships and partake in naval PvP and naval trade routes. I've probably forgot to mention a few features in that little ramble, but my point is,
it definitely feels way too ambitious. Like, way too... How big is this team? Intrepid Studios, right? Intrepid Studios. Let's look at the Wikipedia page. They usually are pretty good about that, no? Wait, it actually says how many employees do Intrepid Studios have. Intrepid Studios is a computer games company at its headquarters in San Diego. Intrepid Studios Inc. has 42 employees. Now, I realize that a big portion of that, I believe they're going to be doing, what's it called? Contracting? I believe they're going to be doing a lot of contracting work. But still, 42 people? 42 people? I don't know about that.
This game will be bloody huge. So huge that I can totally understand why people have been skeptical about the project since the inception. Yes. But at this point, we have seen most of these things that I've mentioned at some point in development live streams in recent years, so it's definitely all stuff that's being worked on. The only content we haven't seen much of at this point is the naval aspect of the game, although recently we've been shown some 3D models for the ships, as well as a giant sea monster boss, so hopefully we'll see more of that soon. At this point, you're probably saying, wow, Peon, all of that sounds great, but I don't want to wait until 2030 to play this thing. Hasn't the game been in development for years already? Yes, it has. But unfortunately, my MMO-hungry friends, this is a genre where games take a long-ass time to make. ESO, Lost Ark and Arcade, for example, all took over 7 years of development until launch. Final Fantasy XIV was in
Terra 4 years, Final Fantasy XIV 9 years after a 3-year rework. World of Warcraft 5 years. Bro, is WoW the most efficient one? Look at that. World of Warcraft is the most efficient one in this list. It was developed in 5 years, and it's still one of the biggest ones. Look at that. No, I haven't First Aid Hollow.
Development until launch. Final Fantasy XIV was in development for 9 years before A Realm Reborn released. Right now, Ashes of Creation is about 5.5 years into development, and with it being a particularly ambitious project, I still think we've got a while to wait.
Yes.
That being said, since moving to Unreal Engine 5, their development speed seems to have gone through the roof, with significant progress shown every live stream, so maybe it's closer than we think. So far, I've only explained the unique aspects of Ashes of Creation, the things it's doing to push the genre forward, but the game also has a lot of other features that you're likely familiar with from other MMOs. So next I'm going to break down everything the game has into the following categories: PvE content, PvP content, roleplay content, the world, professions, class and combat system. As this is such a colossal game with so many different aspects to it, it's impossible for me to talk about every feature in depth and answer every question you might have. Thankfully, there's a fantastic resource already available called the Ashes of Creation Wiki.
I need to take a look
that's
at this
constantly
wiki.
being updated and has thousands of pages worth of information. Any specific questions you might have, check the wiki and there's a 99% chance you'll get an answer. Shout out to Lex, who's been keeping this up to date over the years. The PvE content in Ashes looks a little bit like this. Content is tailored for group sizes of 40, 16 and 8 player groups. The maximum size of a party is 8 players. Dungeons are designed for these 8 player parties. 20% of dungeon and raid content is instanced, whilst 80% are open world. Raids and dungeons are designed for group sizes of either 16 or 40 players, and raids and dungeons both use the adaptive difficulty system that I spoke about earlier in this video. Ashes of Creation will have many world bosses designed to be contested by large groups of players and guilds. These world bosses will have a chance to drop legendary equipment and a tiny chance to drop eggs that can hatch into non-permanent, limited time flying mounts. Due to how they're designed, world bosses are also likely to attract open world PvP with multiple guilds fighting for the glory of the boss kill and loot. Monster Coin events are another PvEVP event that I spoke about.
I think it's interesting that he said the mounts, the flying mounts are non-permanent. I think that's a good thing. Again, I know that a lot of people don't agree. They're like, oh, but flying mounts are amazing. No, flying mounts are fucking terrible for MMOs. Unless the MMO is fundamentally designed to take advantage of the flying mount, which unfortunately not most are. Flying in MMOs is actually fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. Have you seen the controversy with Genshin Impact's anti-cheat being used for ransomware? Kernel-level anti-cheats are a bad idea. Why do people still play Genshin Impact? Don't do that. Weren't flying mounts meant to be like only a handful in existence per server? That's what I heard. Looks like they're going to be temporary on these bosses. I don't know.
Previously, these horde defense style events are likely to spawn following the leveling of a node or a world boss being killed. Quests are another form of PvE content and they come in multiple forms: events, tasks, narrative quests, daily quests, epic and legendary quests, racial quests, class quests, and caravan quests. Jumping puzzles will also be another fun aspect of PvE in Ashes of Creation. You'll encounter them whilst questing and exploring dungeons. There was already a few of these present in the game during the Alpha 1 test in 2021. Next, PvP content, and yes, there's a lot of it. First, let's discuss the open world PvP flagging system, otherwise referred to as the corruption system.
It's a karma
In most
system.
cases, if killed by another player, the only things dropped upon death are gatherable and crafting materials. There's 3 states a player can be in: green, non-combatant,
Non-combatant attacks non-combatant becomes combatant. Non-combatant attacks combatant becomes combatant. Non-combatant attacks corrupted becomes non-combatant. Okay. So this would be what we'd call the grays in Ultima Online, and this is the reds in Ultima Online. Combatant kills non-combatant becomes corrupted. Combatant kills combatant becomes combatant. Combatant kills corrupted becomes combatant. Corrupted kills non-combatant becomes corrupted. Kills combatant becomes corrupted. Kills corrupted becomes corrupted. How do you go back to being a non-combatant, though? That's an important part of the system, because in the case of Ultima Online, you'd have to go and kill either start killing other players that also had negative karma, or you would have to go and kill a bunch of mobs.
purple, combatant, and red, corrupted. Each player starts out as green unless they attack or fight back with another player, at which point they'll turn purple. Green non-combatant players who don't want to engage in PvP are still incentivized to at least run away or fight back, as being killed as a green player will result in dropping gatherable and crafting mats at twice the rate of if they'd have died whilst purple, aka fighting back.
Oh!
Purple indicates...
That is good. Yes, force them to fight back. What the fuck, dude? There's always these pussies like, oh, I don't want to fight. I don't want to get myself involved in the little PvP. Oh no. Then you lose twice the materials, bitch. Good. Get involved.
A state of consensual PvP. You're actually rewarded by dropping less gatherable mats on death if you die in this state. If a purple player kills a green player, then they become red, corrupted. Corrupted players are criminals and will face increasing penalties the more green players they kill, such as dampening and even dropping their gear upon death. If you're a green, pure PvE player, you'd have to make someone pretty mad whilst gathering for them to want to turn red on you. If you haven't got any droppable crafting or gathering mats, there's absolutely no benefit for someone to flag and kill you. So don't worry about people standing outside of nodes just spawn killing PvE players. Most of the time it won't be worth it. If that is something you're worried about though, a bounty hunter
Doesn't, just because it's not worth it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. If there's one thing we can be sure of in the internet, people are vengeful as fuck. Not worth it? Don't care. Still going to kill your ass.
System will also exist where bounty hunters can hunt down corrupted players for rewards.
The Bounty Hunter!
Node sieges and castle sieges. These are two different things. A node siege is where players band together to destroy a node, resetting its level to allow adjacent nodes to progress to higher stages. The higher the level of the node, the more work is required to fulfill the prerequisites to declare the siege. Any player can declare a node siege, and once declared, a countdown begins, giving players anywhere between 2 to 5 days notice, depending on the level of the node, to prepare for the impending battle. Players cannot transport goods from their warehouse during this time, and many services in the node will also be disabled until the outcome of the siege is decided. Castle sieges are massive, large-scale 250 vs 250 player battles for guilds that occur once per month. There will be a total of 5 castles in the world. Castle sieges will have multiple objectives for both attackers and defenders, and might also include raid bosses that attackers can slay for certain buffs. These battles will include siege weapons such as catapults, trebuchets, cannons, and ballistas, and there will be a great deal of prestige and rewards for guilds that manage to own one of the 5 castles in the world. Guilds can declare war on each other via the guild war system. Once a war has been declared, players in those guilds can kill each other without penalties. Guild wars will have victory and surrender conditions, with guild war objectives spawning during the server's prime time. When it comes to battlegrounds, Ashes of Creation will not have traditional MMORPGs where you can queue and are teleported to an instant.
Claire Runja, thank you very much for becoming Grossling Guys 15 months. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. Thank you. And no, they have not said when this game releases. I wouldn't expect it for the next 5 years.
However, the game will have a gladiator-style last man standing arena where players can battle to become the mayor of militaristic nodes. Caravan PvP is something I spoke about earlier and will be a big catalyst for PvP in the open world, and the game will have instanced arenas for 1v1, 3v3 and 5v5 player group sizes, as well as the ability for players to duel each other for fun. Role players rejoice because Ashes of Creation certainly hasn't forgotten about you. In fact, quite the opposite. This could be one of the most RP-friendly MMOs ever made. First off, the game will have 9 different playable races, no gender or race-locked classes, each of which have their own architectural influence on the nodes they contribute the most XP to. You've got the Kalar and Veloon humans, the Dunir and Nikua dwarves, the Renkai and Vek orcs, Empyrean and Pyre elves, and the recently revealed Tulnar. Earlier this year, Intrepid revealed to us their top-tier character customization suite, which, although at the time wasn't completely finished, was already up there as being one of the most in-depth in the MMO genre, right up there with Black Desert's character creator. But what's a good character creator without a good fashion and transmog system, right? In this game, you'll be able to collect appearances of weapons, armor, and accessories and apply it to what you've currently got equipped, similar to WoW's transmog system or Guild Wars 2's wardrobe system. You'll also be able to dye your gear. Additionally, those monthly cosmetic packs you've probably heard people complaining about in the past will be one-piece outfits similar to how it works in Guild Wars 2. You won't be able to mix and match armor components from these full costumes.
I thought you were able to mix and match. Oh no, that might have been another game. I think that was Diablo 4. Never mind. Forget about it.
Meaning the most unique transmog combinations won't be something you can just buy from the cosmetic shop.
That's a good thing.
We've already touched on player housing earlier in this video, but to reiterate, they come in 3 types. Instance departments within nodes that anyone can gain access to for citizenship, real space in-node housing that level up with the node, and real space freeholds, which are set-size plots of land located within a node's area of influence. You'll be able to decorate your player housing with furniture, craft and process materials at your freehold, and obviously throw kinky ERP parties in your house with other players, which, let's be honest, is 90% of the reason why people RP in MMOs. Situated inside nodes,
shade has been thrown at the RP community. Oh, damn. He just said all you people care about is fucking porn. He just said the only type of RP you people do is ERP. Final Fantasy XIV community in shambles.
or freeholds. Taverns are buildings that act as a social hub for players to relax, roleplay, buy consumables, play music, gain rested XP by renting a room, or partake in parlour games together. It's also possible that proximity voice chat will be enabled inside of taverns, although this will require some testing. When it comes to emotes, Ashes of Creation will have all the standard animations you'd expect in an MMORPG, as well as consensual multiplayer emotes such as dancing and hugging. Additionally, you'll be able to interact with the environment by leaning on walls, sitting down, vaulting over fences, mantling, and crouching. As previously,
mantling is one of the most important things. No joke. Like, a lot of people will be like, mantling, who gives a fuck? Like, mantling is so incredibly important. It just feels so good when you're exploring the world and you're just able to, oh, I'll just hop here, mantle this. Like, mantling is one of the most important things when it comes to exploration in MMOs.
Mentioned, Ashes of Creation will have a political system where players can compete to become the mayor of the node in numerous ways. From this, good mayors and bad mayors will emerge, which in itself is another aspect of roleplay. And finally, yes, marriage, including same-sex marriages, will be a thing in Ashes of Creation. Marriage will allow player housing permissions to be shared, and a quest might appear related to a marriage ceremony. This system isn't 100% fleshed out as of making this video, but it will be in the game in one form or another. Next, let's discuss the world of Ashes of Creation, starting with server size, which Intrepid are aiming to support 8,000 to 10,000 concurrent players online at one time, 5 times the number of players that New World's servers can currently handle. When it comes to server locations, the most recent...
I got distracted. I was reading chat. What did he say? Server size.
Next, let's discuss the world of Ashes of Creation, starting with server size, which Intrepid are aiming to support 8,000 to 10,000 concurrent players online at
8 to 10,000 players? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
One time, 5 times the number of players that...
It is on this. It is at the same time, Katamai. It is at the same time. Listen.
Online at one time.
Online at one time. Wait, let me go back a little bit.
Next, let's discuss the world of Ashes of Creation, starting with server size, which Intrepid are aiming to support 8,000 to 10,000 concurrent...
It's concurrent players. Concurrent players means at the same time. This is extreme. I don't even think that World of Warcraft realms can hold this amount of players. Like, what the fuck do they have? They have like some kind of black magic technology in there? Like, what are we doing? 10,000 concurrent players? Again, not even WoW realms do this, and WoW is a much simpler game than this.
Players online at one time, 5 times the number of players that New World's servers can currently handle.
Yes.
When it comes to server locations, the most
Why you gotta bring up New World, man? Why you gotta just like dunk on Amazon? I thought you liked New World, Lazy Peon. What the fuck, bro?
recent info I could find is that they plan on having servers for the following regions: North America, Europe, Asia Pacific and Australia. However, other server regions such as South America are under consideration.
You South Americans can play in the North American servers.
Stephen, if you're watching this video, please heavily consider adding Southeast Asia servers.
No, you get nothing. You get nothing, Lazy Peon. You get nothing, dude.
So many people here love MMOs, but we have to get wrecked by 150 to 200 ping connecting to Australia. I'm sure the same could be said for South America connecting to NA too. You're making the most highly anticipated MMO globally, and after all these years of development and anticipation, it'd be a big shame if large regions of people couldn't enjoy it to its fullest due to ping and server regions. As previously mentioned, the world in Ashes will be 480 kilometers squared at launch, which includes land and water, with an additional 100 kilometers squared for the Underrealm. The world will be ever-changing thanks to the node system and seasons, but I've already gone in depth on those systems at the start of this video, so best not to repeat myself further.
Yes.
When it comes to fast travel and flying mounts, the world of Ashes is designed so that distance and scale matters. Fast travel will be limited to the superpower of a scientific node at Metropolis level, allowing players to teleport to smaller nodes within the Metropolis zone of influence, and a family summon with a long cast time that can be used on up to 8 family members. Flying mounts will be extremely rare and limited in
It's like, this is actually, there's something interesting about the scale of the world. If the world is going to be that big and you're not going to have fast travel, that is going to generate an incredible sense of scale when you have a map this big. Like right now we are at 2706. Again, remember, map is, where is it? Can I find it? 2706, okay. Oh no, we broke it. I blame you guys for this.
special perks adding...
See, like, imagine like traveling from here to here. It would probably be a massive investment, not like right now in most games where it's like, for instance, you look at 14 and I can just like, whoop, teleport, boom. You look at World of Warcraft, I can just go to Stormwind, pick up a portal to wherever the fuck I want to go, and boom, I'm there. It looks like that's not going to be the case for this game, and that is very interesting because you're going to have to pick where you want to settle and kind of like where you want to level. And every time you go somewhere else, it's going to be a significant investment of time. The last time I felt this was actually Ultima Online. Interestingly enough, we talked about Ultima Online. Last time I felt this particular sense of like scale on an MMORPG was Ultima Online. Because to give you guys an idea, there used to be this island that I liked to go to, and you actually had to go and buy a boat, which was not too expensive. It was like a deed, and then you could place the boat down. So you'd have to go buy a boat, and then you'd have to actually sail to get to the island to be able to go and do exploration there. It was really cool. When you have a world that big, it's actually really, really cool. We're at 2706.
Mounts will be extremely rare and limited in duration, with them being obtained via legendary drop eggs from world bosses, or obtainable to mayors of Metropolis nodes, as well as guild leaders owning one of the 5 castles in-game. Out of 10,000 players per server, there's likely to only be...
I think that's too much. I think it's going to suck that some players have access to flying mounts. It's just like... You know, that it's going to be the old thing of like, oh, this person has access to a flying mount. You don't. You're not important enough. It's like, no, I don't think anybody should have flying mounts. Fuck it. Just like get rid of it. And again, it breaks down the whole concept of scale if you can just fly wherever you want. If you can just like, oh, I get on my flying mount, I can fly wherever I fucking want. It's like, no, nobody should have flying mounts. Nobody in the game should have flying mounts. That's my take on it. Not a single person should have one.
Between 10 and 15 players who have access to flying mounts at a time. This game isn't designed around flying. If you ever get to experience it, then it's a great achievement or you've been extremely lucky. For the most part, you'll travel around the world via ground mounts, water mounts, or ships if you wish to traverse.
Why even put that in the game? Like, if the whole game is designed around you having ground mounts, why even put flying mounts in the game? Don't fucking do it. I think it's dumb. I don't think you should have flying mounts at all. I think it's terrible.
The Great Ocean. As I previously mentioned, Ashes will have a fully explorable ocean similar to Arcade. There will be coastal nodes, harbours, naval caravans, treasure hunting, underwater dungeons, naval quests, naval PvP, and multiple different ship sizes ranging from small, medium, and large. Similar to Arcade, there will also be giant sea monster world bosses, like the Negalith, which was recently teased and should be present in Alpha 2. Lore and story is definitely something that's present in Ashes of Creation, however it's not one of those MMOs where you're the chosen one, hero of light, center of the universe, god of all things, with NPCs worshipping you upon sight because you followed the same linear story as millions before you. Storytelling will be more based on learning about past events in the lore, self-contained short story quests, and the overarching story of the world's development. This game actually has a ton of lore, with a lot of stuff being kept secret for launch, but you can read more about that stuff on the wiki, as this video is starting to get pretty long as it is. The Artisan class and profession system in Ashes looks something like this. You've got 3 Artisan classes: Gathering, Processing, or Crafting, each of which contain various professions. Gathering professions include farming, fishing, herbalism, lumberjacking, mining, and taming. Processing professions include animal husbandry and smelting, and crafting professions include alchemy, armorsmithing, blacksmithing, caravan building, carpentry, cooking, jewel crafting, scribes, shipbuilding, siege weapons, and weaponsmithing. A character may only master up to a maximum of 2 professions within one Artisan class. So let's say you choose to be a gatherer. You could max out mining and lumberjacking, but you could not max out mining and alchemy. If you're a crafter, you could choose to max out cooking and jewel crafting, but you could not max out cooking and smelting. To get around this limitation, you may use alts or join guilds and work together to fulfill your crafting needs.
See, I think this is actually a better way of doing it than what New World is doing. I think you should have to specifically dedicate yourself to a craft. I think that is more important than being, oh, I can craft anything, I can do everything. I think it is much more grounded and much more important to be able to like, no, I'm this profession, I do this thing, or I'm this gatherer, I do this thing. I think that is a much better system, personally.
The most unique profession in Ashes of Creation has to be animal husbandry, in which you can breed different animals together to create weird and wonderful hybrid mounts, like this wonderful half-griffin, half-butterfly raccoon monstrosity. Finally, let's discuss what for many people is the most important thing about Ashes of Creation, the combat and class system. Ashes of Creation will have a hybrid combat system similar to Guild Wars 2.
See, exactly
in
like
previous
I
videos,
said.
I couldn't really show you what this combat would look like, but recently they've made substantial progress and shown off some basic melee weapon attacks, and boy, does it look a hell of a lot better than the combat the game had in past tests.
This almost
As this
looks
system
like
is
New
in the
World.
middle of a full redesign and we haven't even had the chance to see a lot of the redesigned abilities yet, I'm not going to talk too in depth on it, but basically when it's done, expect Guild Wars 2 combat, but better. Some abilities need to be targeted whilst others are AoE telegraph and frontal cone attacks. You'll be able to dodge, blink and iframe depending on your class. A lot of effort is going into audio-visual feedback, and as you can see by the damage numbers, they're going with something that looks...
It's like, this is one of the things that this is one of those things that almost points to, okay, you guys are really shooting for too much, okay? You're talking about a small studio, in a way. Of course, there is a lot of outsourcing, contract work, all of that. But you're talking about, again, this combat, like actually look at the combat. I'm going to mute for a little bit. Just look at this combat, right? You're talking about this combat on a scale of 10,000 concurrent players. Bro, Elden Ring can barely do this combat with fucking 4 players on screen. Are you crazy? You're insane.
Looks very vanilla WoW, which I personally love. Keep an eye out for more updates on this system over the next few months, but so far the new design direction is looking very good. When it comes to
Vanilla
classes,
WoW? What
effort is going into audio-visual feedback, and as you can see by the damage numbers, they're going with something that looks very vanilla WoW, which I personally love. Keep an eye out for more updates on this system over the next few months, but so far the new design direction is looking very good. When it comes to classes, Ashes of Creation is using a similar system to Arcade, but instead of a possible 220 classes, there's 64 different possible class combos in Ashes. The way this works is you've got 8 primary classes: Bard, Cleric, Fighter, Mage, Ranger, Rogue, Summoner and Tank. You can then choose a secondary class out of the same 8 options to determine your overall class.
Tank! Sounds
if
good.
Your primary class is Fighter and your second class is also Fighter, you'd be a Weapon Master, for example. Mage primary, Summoner secondary would be Warlock. Summoner primary, Mage secondary would be Spellmancer. You get the idea. When it comes to leveling, the level cap at launch will be level 50, and it's intended to take roughly 45 days of playing 4 to 6 hours per day to reach max level. At each level you'll receive various rewards, from skill points to new quest unlocks and other stuff to make leveling feel rewarding. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you've just been absolutely battered with information.
Yes!
And my brain is starting to shut down from the sheer amount of research and writing that's gone into this video.
I'm sorry to hear
It's been
that.
5 years since my first Ashes of Creation vid back in 2017, and the footage of the game back then compared to now is completely unrecognisable. Intrepid Studios has grown to a team size of over 150 developers, attracting some of the best MMO talent from North America, and since the upgrade to Unreal Engine 5, they've been absolutely pumping out substantial progress with every dev livestream. Some might say that I shouldn't hype this game so much, and it's still just a pipe dream, but honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with getting excited for a new MMO, especially...
There's plenty wrong with getting excited about anything nowadays. Hype has a tendency to run wild.
in a genre that's been so full of disappointment for so many years. The excitement, anticipation...
I'm not criticizing that, by the way. I'm just saying that some people take it a little bit too far. I think it's actually healthy to be somewhat excited for future video games. At least there's something to look forward to.
And speculation of a new MMO is almost as fun as playing it at this point, but hey, Maybe you could say I'm high on copium.
Oh!
What the hell is this? No, what's going on? Sir, there's a massive spike in the copium levels. What do we do?
Yes, I felt it. It's time. Initiate Operation Hopium.
But that's it for this video, guys. This one took a ton of work to make, so please help me out by leaving a comment, destroying that like button for the algorithm gods, and if you plan on playing Ashes anyway, signing up for the game using my referral code. Let me know your thoughts on Ashes of Creation in the comments below, and have you changed your mind on the project in recent years as more stuff has been shown? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I mean, there's definitely a ton of ambition in the project, maybe a little bit too much ambition in the project, which, at the end of the day, do I want them to succeed? Fuck yeah, I hope it's amazing. I hope it's everything that we want and then some. Right, of course you do. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want it to fail? Who the fuck is actually sitting there thinking like, oh man, I can't wait to see Ashes of Creation crash and burn? Like, I think that'd be good for the overall MMORPG industry, because I don't think so. I think it'd be pretty fucking bad. But yeah, they have a lot. They have a lot of stuff that they got to do if they're going to make this work. Whether they make it work or not, who the hell knows? But I will check it out when it comes out. Sure. Of course. Why not? Who wouldn't?